Question number 5, we're back to Dr. Brown. How do you feel about giving the superintendent big bucks when programs get cut and teachers aren't getting the money they deserve?
Well, a superintendent's salary, it is large when you look at it, I think, in terms of the average person. But when you compare in terms of the level of responsibility and the budget size that we're asking him, he's pretty much what I call a junior CEO, Chief Executive Officer, unlike a big corporation. He's basically running a corporation. But we're not pushing out widgets. We're talking about kids' lives. We're talking about having the best that we want to keep. We have a superintendent who was nominated to be superintendent of the year, who's recognized as the regional superintendent of the year. And so with that, to be competitive, when you're looking at salaries, you look in terms of what's that person's, Dr. Chavez's salary in comparison to his peers and to like this district's. And his salary really falls in line in some ways in comparison to other districts. He's even below. But we're very fortunate that he loves this community and he wants to be a part of it and continues to be a part of it and help, again, move us in the direction that benefits all our students. As far as our teachers, we have great teachers, which is one of the reasons why we were firm as a board that we would make certain that while it may not be a huge salary increase, they will get an increase without question. And as much as we would like for it to be, you can never pay teachers enough. So I would be the first to say that. They are the first line of defense. But again, just like in any corporation, you have to look at the level of responsibilities and what is it that you're willing to pay in terms of to get that level of competency. And we've got a great superintendent.
Terry?
Well, I'm going to just go out on a limb here. I believe that the top administrator needs to have a servant mentality. And that's just the way I looked at it. And do I believe that we should have given our superintendent a raise in the worst economic period that we've had? Absolutely not. And I'm sorry. I think that when everybody else is suffering, I think we need to look to the CEO to be an example and say, you know what, I make this amount of money, I make more than the governor of the state of Texas, and I believe he's a little bit more than a CEO. And I think that he should be the first one to say, you know what, our teachers deserve this. Our teachers who are out there touching our students, they deserve the raises. And our superintendent should have said, you know what, thank you, I appreciate the thought, but I'm going to decline it because I want to set an example. And I want that $22,000 to go to either my teachers or the students and resources. So that's my take on it. And I think every CEO should look to their salaries at this point, because I know as a CEO of my company, I have to look at my salary and I have to think about, do I pay me or do I pay my staff? And I believe that I pay my staff first because they make me more. And that's my goal.
Thank you. Heather?
Yes, and let me certainly chime in and say I absolutely agree that teachers don't get paid what they deserve. And teachers need to have a raise this year, and if there comes a time when that can't happen, that needs to be an across-the-board issue. I think this would be a different discussion if we were a district that was declining. If we were a district where you had an administration that was not meeting the goals that the board had set. The board does have to keep the district accountable. The superintendent is the one who has to be accountable. But as long as the superintendent is meeting goals, then you do need to assess his compensation in light of the market for superintendents in the state of Texas. And that's what I have to do with lawyers, whether I like it or not. And that's what the board has to do with the superintendent. You go to the TEA website and it shows all the salaries of the superintendents. And he's certainly not the bottom, and he's certainly not the top. I think we have to balance fair compensation for meeting district goals.
And I agree with that sentiment completely. Coming from HR, I understand the value of making sure your folks are compensated equitably to other people in their position. We don't want Dr. Chavez to pick up and go to Leander just because they're paying more. However, the board's level of responsibility was thrown out and he's met his goals. He did not do that by himself. I don't know who has more responsibility than someone in charge of 22 kindergartners. Because you're responsible for what they learn, if they eat, what they wear, if they hit each other. That's a lot of responsibility. Not the same responsibility, it's not the fiscal responsibility. But in the end, our district is only as good as our teachers and the thinkers that we're putting out. And that goes down to the teachers. So yes, we have to be fair with this compensation, I wholeheartedly agree. But as times get tough, if it comes down to the superintendent or the teachers will get the money or no one will get it, is how I view it.